All right, Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda has admitted he once turned down an offer to host the Oscars. He told People magazine that it's not in his skill set and he's more comfortable writing. So the question is it best to always do what you're comfortable with, Samantha?
I mean, my last year has been about pushing out of my comfort zone, but I've only been able to really do that because I identified what my superpowers were and also went to therapy and was able to heal and be my best self. I feel like Lin-Manuel Miranda knows what his superpowers are. He's iconic. So I feel like if he's yeah, I know what I like doing and this is what I'm going to do, I respect that. I would love to see him host, but I respect that. And I also think there's something to be said about the Oscars always being ridiculously white. So it's not really brand aligned for someone who had a musical like Hamilton to be hosting something just so that performatively it looks like they're diverse when really are they?
It's a great question. Yeah. I love this story because it made me think about career choices where it's do I like the idea of know your limit, stay within it, stay in your lane that he seems to be saying? Or what about the idea that it's big risk, big reward, potentially? And I look back at my career and I generally play it safe in life. I'm a very risk-averse person, and yet the biggest steps that I've taken in my career is when I really stuck my neck out, and perhaps doing so with a bit of naivete. And so I don't know if that's what differentiates me and a lot differentiates me from Lin-Manuel Miranda, but in that specific, career decision, I think of the big break, I call it, in my career. I was asked to host the Olympics for CTV when they were in Vancouver, and I was a local news person, and I had never done national TV, and I pooped my pants when I was asked, but I immediately said yes without thinking twice. And then I went home and I went, oh my gosh, what have I done? Imposter syndrome. I can't do it. I'm going to flop. This is going to be a huge disaster for my career. But I felt the fear and I did it anyway. And it really professionally and personally has been one of the things I'm most proud of. So I wouldn't have done it if I let that doubter make the calls. And I don't know if this is Lin being giving voice to a doubter and maybe denying himself an opportunity to flex a new muscle. I don't know.
I think that there's something to be said for that imposter worry that we're kind of selling ourselves short. But I'm thinking about what Samantha said and how opportunity isn't necessarily a blank slate. So there's opportunity you make yourself in ways that you put yourself out there. And then there's sort of highly structured things that people might offer you where people already have expectations for that person in that role. So you don't want to be an imposter, but you also don't want to be set up to fail because the expectations for the role are just not for someone like you. And that's hard. It's really hard to find that balance.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that you use the word role there because you would think Lin-Manuel Miranda, this is a person who headlined the most successful musical in Broadway history. So, this is someone who's comfortable on a stage for 3 hours, which is the length of the Oscars. But the difference here is when you're hosting the Oscars, you're doing it as yourself. When you're an actor, you are playing a role. And I think a lot of performers have difficulty coming out and having to not have a mask on. And it's to me, it's an interesting choice for him to have. Listen, he's great at so many things. He doesn't need to host the Oscars, but I do think that is what was behind this decision. In terms of personally, Lee, I refer to you because the scariest thing I've done in recent times is your job. I was a visiting professor at Western University for a couple of years ago. And what business does a talk show host have, gossip columnist and talk show host have in an academic setting? I was very intimidated. It was very difficult, but I would say it was probably one of the most rewarding things. And now look at you. You are an academic on a talk show. So I think we're having a switcheroo situation happening here. I love this moment.
I was a talker before I was ever an academic. But you bet when I gave my first lecture, I was just as scared as you.
Okay.